International break number 57. We're halfway through between a much needed win and the craziness of Manchester United week. Time to take stock, methinks, on Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. David Diamond, have you been kind of chilled out? What a difference that win made. I sense we would have parked the football in a kind of moody way for international break, in a grumpy, tense way, had that not occurred. But I've managed to park the football and be a little bit more relaxed after Spurs. I've quite enjoyed the international break, Dave. What say you? And
go on. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, it was obviously it was crucial to get the first win under our belts, but to get it before the international break made it all the more better, I think, because you don't want to be brooding on perhaps another game, another defeat, quite possibly. Still searching for that first win. Massive game. Let's face it, coming up this next weekend, huge. I mean, bloody circus in town, won't it? So it was so important, and yeah, I think you're totally right. It's good to just sort of and breathe. We've got the first win now. Let's push on.
I was just going to mention there's a circus in the town. Bruce Rioch is a clown, but the next bit of that chant probably wouldn't pass muster in 2020.
We get demonetized.
Well, demonetized, cancelled, and everything for that, David Diamond. Joe, are you a brooder, as Dave put it? Did the win against Spurs completely? It's a bit like scoring just before half-time, changing your half-time team talk, isn't it? Did the win against Spurs completely change the past week of being an Ipswich Town fan for you?
Yes and no, but I was fairly comfortable with where we were anyway. I think even had we not got the win, I was still fairly happy with how we'd played since that sort of Everton game. I think things have been picking up from that point. And whilst no one was expecting us to get anything at Spurs, the fact we won there does make a massive difference. I think it's more the external narrative as opposed to what I was thinking about it. More just having to listen to other people talk about us as opposed to what we internally thought about it.
Dave, any of the lads play for Republic of Ireland? Szmodics, 86 minutes. O'Shea looks like he played the whole 90.
Don't. So I tuned into this a little bit late. So
I've not been across it, Dave.
Pretty much, was it halfway through the first half, I think, Joe? And as I switched on, there's a player down injured, getting fairly lengthy treatment, it seems. And it was Sammy Szmodics, and everyone, I don't know if you saw the chat, everyone sort of leapt on the Telegram chat saying, oh my God, that looks like he overextended and that could be a knee and cry. But fortunately, it obviously wasn't anything too serious. Apparently it seemed to be a cut. It's a challenge with Conor Gallagher. And it didn't
didn't even look like Gallagher touched him because he seems to go and try and stop and then he sort of collapsed into a heap, and then Gallagher was nowhere
and
they're
the worst, aren't they? They're usually the worst. But obviously, he was fine. He went off and came back lively. Actually, almost had his penalty shout within seconds of him coming back on, didn't he? So and played, as you said, played 86. I didn't see as he went off. I assume he was just substituted. Give someone a game that's 5-0 at that stage. So I think O'Shea picked up a yellow card later on, but other than that, they went down to 10, the Irish. So it was a bit of a mismatch second half, but no, both hopefully come through unscathed.
Anyone else in international action this past weekend?
Well, Muric yet again has had a lively international break. He's gone away at Romania, and I think in the 88th minute, they're drawing 0-0.
Can I stop you really quickly? Can we make this a regular feature? Someone give us a pithy, alliterative title with an M. I don't know, Muric Matters or something. And Joe can host it every international break. Rich can make us a theme tune. Let's go to Muric. What did you say, Dave?
Muric Musings.
Okay, Muric Musings with Joe Fairs.
So in about the 88th minute against Romania, they're drawing 0-0, and the Kosovan players walk off the pitch due to it sounds as though the Romanian supporters and ultras were singing about Serbia to them. Obviously, big national tensions going on.
Oh dear.
Someone on the Kosovo bench was hit by a missile as well. So they all left the pitch and went from there. So, but I guess to still go down as a clean sheet for him. I don't know. If we've got to decide if they want to game, but he's
Still
gone there.
Thinking about the bad news, Joe, and the civil unrest.
I've got to go back there to put it in context, Joe. I don't think it's a proper missile, was it?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I haven't seen it.
Sorry, that's not. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, sorry. No, it wasn't explosive. I think it might have been.
Joe, I think I've badly misjudged this segment. I went all light, and then it got very serious very quickly afterwards.
Oh dear.
Yes. So that's there. Moving on, Ash Boatswain scored his first goal for Montserrat against St Vincent and Grenadines. I think it was a late consolation as they lost 2-1 there, and Liam Delap played for England. He sort of picked up a yellow card.
Where was the game, Joe?
It was in Spain. They drew 0-0, but it was I think Spain were much a better team against a fairly depleted England team. Omari Hutchinson was in the squad, but not even named on the bench. So maybe he had a little knock. So it's probably not the worst thing him missing that game. I think that's it. Oh, Cameron Burgess played for Australia against Saudi Arabia where they drew 0-0 as well.
We had Muric moments. That could work, couldn't it? Although, because my singing was so accurate then, Dave, I think the YouTube song recognition Shazam business is probably going to pick that up.
I think it's a meltdown.
Dave, we heard just a little bit, if you can just tie this news item up, about the training ground and planning permissions granted and everything looking absolutely beautiful and spick and spam with what's going on up there.
Yeah, I think so. To be fair, I was away pretty much all of.
Oh, of course you were.
You
can throw to Joe if you want.
So Joe, yeah.
Yeah, it's the planning. They've said they put the planning in. It's not live on.
Beg your pardon. Sorry,
East Suffolk portal yet, but the club have put some pictures out on the website, and I think it's a new building with new entrances to it, and the work will begin in either next year and due to be ready for the start of the 26-27 season, at which point the existing buildings will be repurposed for the women's team in the academy. So they'll end up with new training facilities as well. So it's just working out from there. But I haven't seen the exact plans if the entrance is still going to be off Playford Road or if they're going to try and maybe bring it in off, is it Rushmere Road or the street?
Rushmere around the corner, isn't it?
Rushmere coming around there, sort of next to that Eaton Place, trying to come in from that side potentially. But so it's all exciting. It's another big investment from the owners in the club and another example of how they're planning to be here for the long term. And they're not just going to try and scrimp and save where they can. They are investing in us to be a Premier League club on the pitch as well as off the pitch.
And the great news, Dave, is if you get in FFP trouble, you can sell it to yourself and lease it back down the line.
Now.
I'm just saying, many clubs.
No.
I don't know whether they closed that loophole. I think Reading were the last ones to sell their own training ground to themselves. I think a few of those loopholes of capital assets have been closed up. Guys, we are going to take a good look. Joe has been slaving over some grades for our summer signings. We're going to go through them in just a jiffy. We'd love your input in the comments. I haven't said hello to everybody listening after the fact on audio here. Big welcome to you guys if you're on your dog walk, on the treadmill. If you're doing your washing up, be careful of your fingers, like we've said before after recent injuries to certain Ipswich Town players who are very, very much welcomed back. And if you're here live on YouTube, we're so privileged and happy to have you here. Keep those comments moving. And if you get a second, just hit the thumbs up button. It helps us out. Absolutely lovely. Let me just quickly talk about ITFC women, guys, before we go into this. Now, top of the league on goal difference with 2 games in hand to second place. Hashtag who lost today. And this is following a 4-2 win. Richard was worried about this game, actually, home to Oxford. Town came from behind twice in the first half, including a rocket. I think it's going to be a long, long time from long range by Lucy O'Brien. Second half, Town stepped up and goals from Maria Boswell, as interviewed by us last week. A second for O'Brien won the points for Town. And Lucy O'Brien also went on to win player of the match. Next up, Woof. away in the Women's FA Cup.
And
That's the big one.
We played them the week after in the league as well, which is the real big one.
That's the real quiz.
Yeah.
I think so.
We've always had good cup runs, but the league has got to be the priority now. And effectively, top of the league with 2 games in hand and a goal difference, which I think is 30 superior to second place. It's got to be this season. It's got to be for the girls.
Yeah. The heat
I think there was nearly 1,000 down at Felixstowe today, so really good attendance as well.
Yeah, it's good in the international break as well, because I think people who'd normally be at other games will head over, weren't they? Right, Joe, I'm going to kind of pass over to you here. So everybody get your views in. How are we going to be ranking the signings, Joe? What's your system and your rationale before we go straight back to good old R.O. Muric?
Yeah, I didn't want to go too detailed on sort of like marks out of 10 and what's the difference between a 7 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10. So I've looked at what I expected the player to be when we signed them, how good I thought they were going to be, and how they've compared against that. So effectively, it's A, B, C, or D. C is, they are what I thought they were going to be. Par, effectively.
It's a golfing term for you, Dave.
B is they've been better than I expected. A is they've been excellent, and D is they've not been as good as I hoped or expected them to be.
Okay,
so hopefully that fits all the players, so you can compare Connor Townsend to Liam Delap without it being sort of too silly.
Okay, what we need you to do in the comments, guys, and this is very important now, I'm going to go into teacher mode here. Don't just put letter grades in, because we're going to go through about 18 players here and we won't know who you're talking about. So you need to put the name of the player and your letter grade, A, B, C, or D. And Joe Fairs, not me, has banned pluses and minuses and anything else, just A, B, C, or D. Richard is driving in the background. We love you, but he will not put your comment up if you do not follow those very, very simplistic rules. Joe, how are you rating R.O. Muric?
I've given R.O. Muric a B for, I think he's been, I think we knew what we were getting with him, somebody who was a very good shot stopper, a decent player with the ball, but someone who's got a rick in him. And we have seen a couple of these ricks, but for me, I just think that I've never seen a keeper in a long time dominate the box as well as he has done for us over the last few games. And almost in every game we've played where we've got points, he's made some big either in that. Admittedly, Brentford, he's let that one through, and Man City had a really torrid debut. But I think other than those 2 errors, he's either got away with stuff or has been okay in the main.
Brighton, Joe.
But yeah, he was brilliant against Brighton. I thought he was excellent against Tottenham last week. And it's just that he's just so big. And he's also, I think 8 million quid he was, which seems a lot of money when you compare it to our life in the last 20 years. But when you look at Gavin Bazzuno, James Trafford, these guys who've gone from a similar background, basically Man City Academy with a little bit of Football League experience. And we've signed him for really like half of what they cost. And I think, well, actually, he's twice the keeper that they were. And he's still a baby for a keeper, really, isn't he?
What is your view, just quickly, Joe, on how Mike Cooper is performing for Sheffield United? Is there any chance that a Premier League club should have taken him, or maybe we should have taken him this summer?
I think there's a good argument that a Premier League club should have taken him, because what was he, like 2 million? Was he something really, really cheap? And he was, I think his big problem was he had that bad injury, and no one really saw a huge amount of him in the Championship last year. And it's a big jump from League One to the Premier League, as we've seen with Gavin Bazzuno and James Trafford, 2 people who had good League One seasons, went to the Premier League and just got absolutely swallowed up and chewed out and spat out, basically. And I guess the difference when you've got R.O. Muric, who's a similar age to Mike Cooper, who's played a Championship winning season at Burnley. He's played 10 Premier League games. He's come through the Man City Academy. Is he worth more than Mike Cooper? I'd say so. I think he's a lesser risk than Mike Cooper was. But yeah, Cooper's been an excellent keeper.
Dave, I'll throw in a bit of a naughty question for you. What's your feelings on what Joe said? What would you grade Muric, and what would you have graded him after just a couple of games? Because I think it would have been lower. By the way, Dave, I haven't seen any A's or D's in the comments, mainly B's and C's for Muric from the audience.
I mean, I think after the first couple of games, when was Brighton? Game 3 or 4. Brighton was 3 or 4. I can't remember. Up to the Brighton game, it'd have probably been a D, to be fair, because he wasn't great. Joe's quite rightly said these last 2 or 3 games, he's certainly improved. For me, perhaps a little bit early still, I'd say a C. But what I did see, which was quite interesting, I thought I saw a couple of comments from Spurs fans last weekend saying, I think they've got, is it Fraser Forster as their perhaps number 2, and saying, they should have looked at him. This guy was superb. They really rated him on his display last week. But for me at this stage, I think he would be a C for me.
Dave, someone just asked in the chat, I think it was Norman, have Southampton kind of done us over there by getting Ramsdale instead? Would you have preferred him?
Jesus,
he's excellent.
Look how much Ramsdale. What was probably Ramsdale?
25, I think.
25. Wow. Man, that's so. Yeah, no, I think Muric will be the one. And as Joe already said, I love him. I don't think we've had a keeper like that for many years, just who's so commanding. He's so bloody big, isn't he? But so commanding. So I just expect him to now go from strength to strength. And look, don't think he's ever going to be the most secure, perhaps playing out for the back, and we might see more of that. But I see. I think for me.
Okay, where we go next?
Obviously, we can't see it, but it'd be interesting to see how good Vas Pladke would be playing out for the back in the Premier League, because it's obviously a totally different ball game with the pressing. You've got to deal with the quality of players you're passing out against, and when you watch Muric in the Burnley promotion season, he's taking the P there, playing out for the back, and then you see him in the Premier League and he's struggling at times. So I think it is just the step up. The speed of everything is a big step up.
And also, I think perhaps no coincidence in the past 2 or 3 games he's had more of perhaps of a settled back 4. Well, certainly the 2 in front of him have been consistent, haven't they? If not the right-sided player.
Where are we going next, Joe?
I can't remember. Rich will put it up, and then Ben Johnson. Yes.
Johnson.
So Ben Johnson. A few games back, I'd have had him as a D, maybe even. But I think the last 2 games against Leicester at home, where he played in the sort of more orthodox right back role.
Sorry, Joe. In the comments, guys, on Ben Johnson. Continue, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent in the Leicester game in that right back role, and then I think Johnson. away at Spurs as well, he played really well in that game there, working that in that right hand role that generally Wes Burns has played. And I think when you see that Chio Ogbene is out for the season, Wes Burns has struggled to step up really in that right hand side role. And I know we played Omari on the right hand side role against Leicester at home, but I don't think you'll be able to do that in games where you're not going to be seeing a huge amount of the ball and you're not really pushing on and expecting to win the game, which maybe we were against Leicester. So I think he's going to be a really, really important player. So yeah, a B. He was a B/C for me, but I just edged on B.
Dave?
Yeah, same really. I think Joe's quite right. I mean, after the West Ham game, he had an absolute shocker, didn't he? I think the occasion got to him at West Ham, to be fair, going back to his club, to what was his club, obviously, came through the academy. And yeah, he was really struggling, but no, risen to the occasion, certainly in the last 2 or 3 games. And I put him as a B just for the touch for the second goal alone. The pull down, the touch for that second goal that started the second goal, the move for the second goal was just sublime. Yeah, I think I can just see him going from strength to strength again. So I think I'd have him as a B. Yeah.
Interesting. I know Dara O'Shea is coming up next, Dave. So can you just guess what Joe has given him?
Dara O'Shea, I'd have thought. Oh well, I know. I'd have thought a B, perhaps. Yeah.
Interesting. Stick Dara O'Shea up for us, please, Rich. Wow. An A for Dara O'Shea, Joe. These are like your bloody score predictions where you predict us to win 9 games in a row.
Crikey.
I think O'Shea's been excellent for us, especially in the last, like we said, in the last 3 or 4 games.
The chat agrees with you here, Joe, by the way.
Yeah,
he's just gone from strength to strength. And I think, especially sort of Tottenham and Leicester, you've seen he's an absolute athlete physically, so fast. He's winning everything in the air. He's good on the ball. He's playing with a broken back, it sounds like, at the moment, or a severe back injury. And I know when he stepped into the team, I think he was one that people were a little bit underwhelmed with. And I think I was in a little bit too, because it was sad that Luke Wolfenden had dropped out the team. But I think in the last couple of games, he's really, really pushed and shown why we've signed him and why
Joe.
Why we've had to beat off. I think he's actually younger than Luke Wolfenden, actually, even
Is he actually?
only by months rather than years, but he is younger than him. And yeah, I think he's a real player, and you can see why Wolves and Brentford were in for him in the summer. And I think we had to like gazump Wolves to get him here, so that was a real good signing. And I'd say after a tough start, he's been really good. So yeah, he's probably the one that when I sat down to do the rankings, I was probably most surprised at where I ended up myself on that one.
Dave, I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought Joe would have gone B there as well. But
I am really. I think, looking at obviously you're looking across the season as a whole, so you have to perhaps we are maybe if you were judging these players off the back of a not so good performance last week, we'd be looking different, obviously. But I think judging the season as a whole, I think I'd have him as a B. But I can see exactly where Joe's coming from. He's obviously an international player, you can just see him confidence-wise just going against someone else, going from strength to strength. But I don't think I'd have had him as an A at this stage. But if he can maintain this form this form for the next 2 or 3 games, given that the next 2 or 3, certainly the next 2 games, Man U home, Forest away, then you could see why. But yeah, a B, I think.
Let's move on to Jacob Greaves, Joe, who I thought had a really excellent start. And then there was that bad mistake against Villa to give away the first goal. And then he got hurt. Was it in the next game or was it after the next game? I can't quite remember. But I think it would have been a higher one maybe a couple of weeks before for Greaves. What have you gone for?
I've gone for a B for Greaves, where I think he started the season off brilliantly, and I think he's going to turn out to be a superb signing for us. But obviously, I don't think he had a brilliant game at West Ham, and against Villa, he obviously gave the goal away with a poor clearance. But I think B is still just that first sight of him in an Ipswich kit. We thought, wow, this boy is something special, and you can see why we were so keen to get this deal done so early, because I think we caught maybe a couple of teams on the hop with getting it done, because he does look every inch this Premier League defender. And I think he's one that's going to go right to top. But just that he's obviously missed a number of games now. I know it's an injury and players get them, but ultimately we can't afford to have players missing huge amounts of games. Part of the reason we've signed them is to try and get some durability, to try and get as close to 38 games out of them this season as well. So the more games he misses, the lower the rating gets.
You agree with B for Greaves?
I do. I think he's class. I think Joe's quite right. And looking at all the comments, I think he's going to be absolute class. And when you see someone like, no disrespect to him, Harwood Bellis making the England squad and actually getting an England goal today, he's certainly in that. He's certainly in that class, that same class for me. So yeah, just unfortunate the injury came when it did.
When are we expecting him back, Dave?
I think after
next week, yeah,
possibly next week. So after the international break, that's what we're in, isn't it? Yeah, I think next. I think next week another one. I think next week. I just like the guy. Absolute class. Looks thoroughbred on the ball, doesn't he? Quite tough. Seems to read the game really well. So another one. I think hopefully we're speaking about this another few months' time, and he's another A probably. But yeah, I agree with B, just because of the games he's missed, unfortunately.
Dave, are you excited to see if we do get a kind of 3 at the back away from home? Him in the Mark Venus left-hand side centre back.
He's got a lovely left foot. Just looks a nicely balanced player. Just absolute class player. So yeah, really looking forward to him. It's going to be tough, because I think Burgess has done absolutely brilliant. But if he's fit, he's going to play, isn't he?
He is indeed. Let's move on to Connor Townsend, who we have only seen for 1 minute. Am I correct, Joe? So good luck. Have I got that right? 1 minute against Brentford and 90 against Wimbledon in the EFL Cup, says FootMob. So hopefully I'm correct about that.
He came on against Leicester as well.
Must have been in stoppage time, perhaps, and they haven't even registered.
Oh, he might not have done
as minutes. You talk about him, and I will check that.
Yeah, well, Connor Townsend was brought in to be a backup for Leif Davis, and he has been a backup for Leif Davis. So he gets a C for being par. He's available. He's been available for every game he's been in the squad. When he played against Wimbledon in the EFL Cup, he put a lovely corner in which Al Hamidi scored from, so he got an assist in that. But ideally, Connor Townsend barely plays a league minute this season because it means Leif Davis is getting 90 week in, week out. And he seems I know you can only pick up little bits from Town in 5 videos and bits like that, but he seems like a popular guy in the squad, a decent guy and a decent character. And for 750,000, a guy that can do that is a good signing. So, yeah, C, par.
Yeah, and Dave, I think we've had Sonny Aluko and Richard Keogh in the background, and this guy's played a ton of games for West Brom with O'Shea actually as well. So maybe there's other benefits that
I know.
aren't necessarily on the pitch.
A good influence in the dressing room. You would think experienced player, and yeah, I agree. C for being a good egg.
C for being a good egg. Right, who we got next, Joe? Kalvin Phillips.
Ooh, it's a divided opinion.
Yeah, I've got him as a C, and I think even in some ways that might even be a generous C at times, because for what we're expecting from him and what we're paying him, we need him to be the absolute main man in the midfield, and he hasn't been so far. I know we had the big conflab about the red card against Leicester, but
why are you going there?
But ultimately, he's an experienced player who's put a challenge in, which has allowed the ref to give him a red card, and he's made himself unavailable for another game when he's been unavailable for, I think, 3 games. He missed the first game of season too late. Second game, not his fault. Man City. He was injured for the Southampton game. I don't think he played down there. He's then suspended for the Tottenham game. Well, that's 4 out of 11 games that he hasn't been available for. 3 out of 10 either injuries or suspensions. That's 30% of games. And when you're paying him what we're paying him, or what the deal is costing us, we need more than that. He's got to be our 8 out of 10 player every week, and we've seen signs he can do that.
Has he been Has he been 8 out of 10 for you at any points during the season?
I thought the Villa game he was excellent in there, and I thought the Leicester game up until the red card he was very, very good in that one. But he's got to be like that every game, or he'll go from a C to a D. That C's got to become a B at the very least this season, doesn't it?
I think he's probably right, Dave, as much as I'm the biggest fanboy of KFC.
Joe's quite right. There's been glimpses of it, hasn't it? Absolutely those 2 games for me. Certainly the Villa game, I thought he was excellent, and he was.
Dave, they're home games where you're kind of playing well. You need it in the difficult moments.
Yeah,
as well,
and he
mate.
was very good. He was very good against Leicester. He was very good, and I thought it'd be a big miss. We'll get on to perhaps why he wasn't so much in a minute. I thought it'd have been a big miss last Sunday. Having said that, if he's fit and ready, I fully expect him to be in the team next weekend. But yeah, like one of my school reports, probably C could do better.
Guys, we're going to go to the Atwell's promo, so no spoilers here. Richard, get your thoughts in for Jens Cajuste as we hear from our main sponsors this season.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Lovely jubbly. Also, big thanks to One Stop Badges as well. Check out the description to go and get your discount there. And we would normally play you the Innovation Labs sponsored Premier League roundup. There isn't one this week, so huge thanks to Innovation Labs. Right, on we go, please, Richard. Jens Cajuste, whatever, don't care how you want to pronounce it. But what grade have you given him, Joe?
For Jens Cajuste, I have given him a B.
Can we just do a different one every 3 seconds just to trigger everybody in the chat?
But I found him probably the hardest one to rate, because it's difficult to sort of know what your expectations were going into it. Because obviously he'd been a Napoli player last season, but I don't think he played a huge amount for them. So he's looking for a fresh start. So he's coming in with a lot of pedigree, but sort of came quite late in the window without a huge amount of noise around him. And there's a potential future deal down the line. But I thought he's played at Southampton, where he looked quite good in what he did there. Did there? Then he's played in the Brentford game, and in that game, it's one of those ones where when you watch it as it happens, you think, oh, he's had a really good performance. Then when you watch it back and say, yeah, but he's been run off twice for 2 goals at bad times in there. So it was more of a flashy performance and one you'd actually look back on as a great performance. But then I thought at Tottenham, he was a real difference maker in there. The guy that could speed up and slow down the play, really helped dictate the pace of the game and really broke the lines and moved forwards from there. And it was a real mature performance. And him and Morsey looked like they had an excellent partnership in that game. So definitely one to watch, and definitely one where it's got a real interesting balance in that central midfield now, and who the two are going to be come the end of the season. I think Morsey's got the shirt for as long as he can hold on to it, but we've got another 27 games to go here. So if they play to their best of their abilities, Cajuste and Phillips probably have got higher ceilings than Sam Morsey, but I don't think he'll give up that shirt without a fight. But yeah, a B for Jens Cajuste.
Excellent. Dave, we always see Kieran McKenna really take his time, especially when players have maybe come from a different league or a different country. He has a bit less of the chance to do that when you've got to win quite quickly, given the situation we're in, and it's sort of a loan with a I think it's an obligation, isn't it, if we stay up. What are your feelings on Jens Cajuste?
Jens Cajuste, I would agree with Joe. I think he's a B. I think he's a B, but he looks absolute class, doesn't he? He looks absolute class. And I think in a few of those early games, he just looked, I think leggy's a good term. He just looked a bit leggy and tired, but you can see when he gets on the ball, carries himself really well. Big presence. He's 6'2", isn't he? Yeah, really looks the part. And I agree with a lot of these comments there that he could really. I mean, I don't expect him. Like I said, I don't expect him to start, injuries permitting. I don't expect him to start next week, but yeah, he could be a big player. He could be a big player for us. Looks the part, doesn't he? And he's got a pedigree. He's got international pedigree. Played at Napoli. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, actually.
It's a nice option, isn't it, Joe, in terms of if you can kind of say, right, it's Morsey and Phillips, and this guy as well can, see if he can move them. That would be a nice situation for McKenna to be able to utilise him, Joe.
Yeah, because he does look physically very good, and that is what you need. And it's the first time he sort of really was able to get on the ball in those areas and decent areas. And he's a very good footballer as well as physically excellent, and he's seemed to caught up to speed of the game in the last week.
This one's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker. Why do you have to be Chio Ogbene, Joe, who sadly is done for the season, bless him.
Yeah, and I think people might think this is a bit harsh, but I gave him a D because I didn't think he was very good when he played for us. He hadn't done a huge amount in the games that he had played. I was expecting him to come in and be with a season of Premier League football behind him, a £8 million signing. You'd expect him to be above Burns, really. But I didn't really see much more out of him than I saw from Burns. I thought against Aston Villa, he was quite sloppy in the build-up to their first goal. He seemed to be playing within himself. And some of it maybe just team understanding that he looked like he was making some good runs, but maybe wasn't getting found, wasn't trusted as well. But yeah, he hadn't found his way into the team, and now he's out for the season. So yeah, he's below what I expected him to be, both footballing wise and what he's going to give us over the course of the season. But that's not to write him off as a footballer. I think he'll be a good sign for us later down the line, but he hasn't been so far, and sadly, that's all we're going to see of him this season.
What a shame, Dave.
Yeah, I'd give him a sympathetic C, I think, for Ogbena. Yeah, it's really sad. It was, and again, one of those. But we spoke about Szmodics earlier. Just innocuous, wasn't it? Nowhere near him. Proper nasty one. That. So, yeah, he had a lot. He looked at time. Perhaps we never in certain games I saw, some of the home games, never really perhaps utilised him. Perhaps well enough, but because he's certainly got pace, looked like a pace to burn, but yeah, wasn't quite happening at the time he got injured. But I think someone who would have no doubt developed into our system. But yeah, just a shame for the boy, really.
It's a bit of a problem down that side, Dave.
Yeah, well, I guess it is really, isn't it? Because obviously Wes Burns really hasn't shown that he's shown any great consistency so far this season. Hopefully that will change, But yeah, it's been an issue. But it's a bit. I still see us perhaps next weekend, given who we're playing next weekend, Johnson still fulfilling that role next weekend. I would think so.
This doesn't feel like a new signing, Joe, but it is. Omari Hutchinson.
Oh.
Yeah, I've given Omari a B. I think there's definitely room for that to turn into an A, though. If he plays like he did against Tottenham for the rest of the season, then that's going to be an A plus by the end of it.
The bar is high after the end of last season as well, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's learning a new role. Really, he hasn't played a huge amount as a 10 for us. He did start towards the end of the season, but no, he's been fantastic. But ultimately, he was an £18 million signing, our club record signing. A guy coming in who already knew all the team, the systems, the patterns, and he needs to be our best player or one of our very best players all season. He has been for the last 2 or 3 games, but yeah, he probably just needs to add a little bit more output, goals and assists if he's playing in that role there, because it's very important. But yeah, no, B's a very positive grade for him, and I think he's been great and will get better.
Yeah, DD?
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I thought he was brilliant last week. So, watch the game back, the full game back, and his ball carrying and stuff was absolutely superb, wasn't it? The ball carrying for the second goal last week, and I think he's certainly been at it in recent weeks. So yeah, you're just expecting more from him. Absolutely class player, and yeah, certainly a B, and someone quite confidently I fully expect by the end of the season to become an A.
Fingers crossed. Where are we going next? Sammy Szmodics. Dave, what did you expect before the season after the drawn-out saga of Mr. Szmodics?
I mean, just on his sheer volume of goals alone from last year, his sheer weight of goals. Did we ever discover how much a goal weighs? Did we ever get into that?
We discussed it many times.
I think we did, didn't we? Someone's got a formula out there. But it was Formula. Yeah, maybe a bit of a slow, again, perhaps a slow start. Got the goal against City, which obviously, and
got
then
forgotten quickly.
In and out of the team a bit, but yeah, I mean, I think the goal we all saw is about the goal he scored against Brentford, brilliant, absolutely carbon copy. I probably could have picked 10 goals he scored last year for Blackburn, absolutely similar, absolutely brilliant finish last week, and he just gives so much for the team. He's got a bit about him. He's a little ratter, isn't he? He's just annoying to play against, annoying other opposing defenses and stuff. So again, I think I'd give Szmodics an A.
What have you given him, Joe?
I have given Szmodics an A.
So
we agree. First one we've agreed on.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I think the key is you have to get Dave to say what he was going to give him before you show him what I have. He'd like to go one up or one down.
No, not at all. I just think he's been absolutely superb. Certainly his last few games, and yeah, he's just got that knack. He's getting him. He finds himself playing off the left. He just finds himself in these positions, and he's a great finisher, ice cool finisher. So, yeah, love the guy. Love the guy. Like his attitude and everything he brings to the team. Really.
Joe, was there a little bit of a sense that we weren't entirely sure how he was going to be deployed, because he wasn't exactly number 9 for Blackburn, despite all those goals last season. And if you watch the podcast that a lot of people have referenced, where he basically made himself for sale with Big Sam. He says he likes the number 10 position, and we got the left-hand side as well. So I think it's a bit of a difficult one for him coming in, wasn't it, to find a hole in the side, right?
I think that was a role we always had him penciled in for, that left-sided role, because there's nowhere else really he fits into our team, because he's not the 9 how McKenna likes to play.
No.
The right-sided 10, McKenna likes a left footer there, whether that be Chaplin or Hutchinson, just the angle. So it was always going to be in that broad-haired role, Marcus Harness role that we've seen over the last couple of seasons where those are played. So I always thought that's where he'd play. But when you're talking about expectations, which I'm basing this on my expectations of him, we signed him for like 8 or 9 million. We've then signed Jack Clarke a few days later for 15 million. Sammy Szmodics has started away at Man City, scored, and then Jack Clarke is then in the team and starts getting a run of games while Szmodics is the sub who's coming on at the end of games. And I think that Szmodics has really, to me, made that role his own on the left-hand 10 role, both with his on-ball work and off-ball work. Like, yeah, he's not someone who's massively involved in the games, but he really, really puts a shift in defensively for us, and he's really lively when the ball comes to him. And he's gone away to the Etihad, to Brentford, and to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and scored the opening goal in all 3 games. And he's been ice cool when he's had these chances as well. That none of them have been. They've all been presentable chances. He's taken them all, and I think he's one that I expect him to be an option up front, in that rotation. But the way he's playing, he's out of all the ones in there, other than Omari, he's the one that's really, really nailed down that position.
And I think I agree with Joe, Dave, in the fact that a lot of the naysayers, he was the one where people were like, he's Bristol City and Peterborough and Blackburn, and he's had one massive outlier season, and your Daryl Murphy season, Dave, and is he ever going to repeat it? So I think if you use Joe's rationale of expectations, there were a lot of low expectation that he's clearly exceeded, right?
No, but no disrespect to Sammy Szmodics, but up until last season, would he have ever expected a chance in the Premier League? Surely perhaps would have thought at his age, Premier League would have absolutely passed him by. So what an opportunity! And it's lovely to see a guy like that absolutely grabbing it with both hands. As Joe said, he absolutely puts a shift in every single game, wants to be there, and I think he's absolutely deserving his place on that left-hand side now.
Good advice from David Diamond there, everyone. Always, Joe, grab it with both hands.
But when you see like a £9 million signing, and you think, and everyone's like, it's a lot of money for a 29-year-old. I think, well, yes and no. It's not a lot of money for a guy who scored 30 goals in the Championship last year, because if he was 21 years old, he'd be 50 million, let alone 9 million. And it wouldn't make him a better player. He'd just be a better asset. And he's already got 3 goals. How many goals a season make him a brilliant signing? 11, 12? Well, he's well on his way to doing that already, isn't he?
Right, 2 to go. Don't worry. You're going to hear about Liam Delap soon, everybody. Don't worry about it. Jack Clarke, Joe.
Unfortunately, while Sammy Szmodics has got an A, because of this, Jack Clarke is down as a D for me, because I think Jack Clarke is the one that you expected to, like I say, he was, like Sammy Szmodics is excellent, but Jack Clarke is the young player at Sunderland who's dominated the division for the last 2 seasons, goals, assists, everything's gone through him, and he just hasn't really done anything for us yet. And some of it's been unlucky because I thought, for example, the penalty against Everton was a penalty, but then before that he'd missed a really good chance. He seems to have got into decent positions and then been fouled or not quite taking the chance. Tried to do something different. Even the Leicester game, he gets on the ball, he gets into a really nice position, cuts back, ends up winning.
Over the bar, Joe. Was that
Everton? Yeah. But he ends up winning as a free kick in a really good position, just as he's coming on as a sub against Leicester. And you think, oh, here we go. And then from that free kick, we end up down to 10 men. And all of a sudden, he's come on as a role to try and help us put the game out of sight. You've just got to get up and down that left flank, trying to keep us in the game. So yeah, and a lot of this will come down to luck, situation, being in the right place at the right time. And it seems like at the moment, Sammy Szmodics has grabbed the opportunity with both hands, as Dave said, and Jack Clarke hasn't yet. And Szmodics may pick up an injury. He may run out of form. Jack Clarke might come off the bench and score a couple of goals, and this can soon flip. But at the moment, I think at 15 million, you've expected to hang your hat on Jack Clarke as an attacking signer, wouldn't you? And at the moment, he hasn't delivered for us yet. But a long way to go.
Oh, it's disappointing, this joke, Dave, excuse me, because in terms of raw materials, we were salivating over this idea that you've got the dribbler, tight control of Hutchinson on one side, and you've got this guy with amazing acceleration, speed, ball carrying, and that right-footed whip shot in the corner. He's just not quite. Was it against Fulham, Dave? He came on, he just whipped one round the post, and you think,
he needs one of these.
Side netting.
Yeah, that's what he's about, isn't it? He needs one of those to go in. It's a confidence thing. One of those goes in.
Proof of concept, Dave. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I'd agree. I would agree with Joe on this one. I think he would have got a C, but for his absurd length of short. So so he's certainly that's a nailed on D. No, he just hasn't quite happened for him yet. But again, as a lot of people in the comments said, perhaps still early days for him. Make McKenna to do his magic on him, but he needs one of those where he cuts inside. We all know what he's got. Drops his shoulder, curls one in the far corner, and then confidence through the roof. Perhaps off and running then. But yeah, he has certainly been the most disappointing of the signings so far, just purely based, as you quite rightly said, on the level of expectation.
Before we talk about Liam Delap, Dave, is there a letter that's better than A? Is that a thing?
Joe's not letting. We can't have A+, can you? It's not allowed, is it?
It's not allowed. No. So
anyway, I'm not sure he's an A, but anyway, go on, Joe.
Let's talk about one of my favourite topics. Not even football, just general life at the moment. One of my favourite topics. Liam Delap, ole, Joe.
Okay, well, I don't think you need the graphic to pop up to work out what I've given him as a rating here, do you? But 15 million quid coming in, and at the time, it seemed a little bit of a big fee for him. It felt like there was a little Man City tax in that, because he'd had a loan at Preston where it hadn't gone brilliantly, a loan at Stoke, which is okay. He had a decent loan at Hull last year, but decent, not Omari Hutchinson at Ipswich where he was superb through the end of the season. Just a decent loan, sometimes on the right-hand side, sometimes up front, picked up 7 or 8 goals, looked sharp in patches, showed some of his physical gifts off, but not a huge amount more than that. And now he is the hottest young striker in Europe, possibly, probably. I think there was a list of players under 21 goal scorers in Europe, and he's at the top of that, ahead of Lamine Yamal and people like that. And he has been superb, absolutely brilliant. And already he's worth 60 million. So I don't know what he's going to.
You had a coffee, mate.
End up what he's going to end up with, because even if we were to get relegated, he's still going to be 60 million, isn't he? And it's just, he's playing for England under 21. I can't imagine it'll be long before he's in the full England squad, because what's he up against? Is Kane, Solanke and Watkins are the 3. He's probably fourth in the pecking order already. 1 injury and he's probably in the squad. But yeah, no, this guy is going to the very top.
Joe gets me so hyped up when he's like this, Dave. I'm excited. The thing I love, I don't know if anyone can get me some quotes while we're watching, is I love the foreshadowing from that interview after the brilliant win against Hull. When was that, Dave? Like September or October of last season, where you're kind of like, why is Kieran McKenna naming this Hull player by name and telling us that he's changed his tactics and his back four for this specific player? So we've said it many times. Kieran McKenna wanted Liam Delap. Kieran McKenna loves Liam Delap, and he very much knew exactly what he was going to do with him. We can't give all the credit to McKenna, because it's all very well identifying a good player. When that player dribbles down the pitch, smashes it from 25 yards into the goal against Fulham, and leaves a very good Villa centre half on his backside after a step over, larrups it in off the bench, glance finish against Brentford. Liam Delap, ole, Dave.
Yeah, he's the one, and absolutely fantastic, absolute beast of a player. 21 is frightening. His ceiling, Joe's quite right. The ceiling for this guy is absolutely frightening. Everything you want in a striker. Horrible to play against. I think his touch is improved. He's got that move where he's done it twice this season. Once on Quansah, where he just the ball's dropping, he somehow sort of turns away, does he, on the outside? Done it against Quansah. Face as well against Leicester. Oh my God. Yeah, he is the one. Incredible signing, and obviously look, it's no, he scored 6. What, in 10? Is it now? The secret's out now. Okay, paper talk, you think, but Juventus maybe are making inquiries, and understandably so. Joe probably is probably right. He's now certainly the hottest young striker in Europe.
In the universe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's frightening. Obviously frightening. And really looking forward to these upcoming games. So looking forward to seeing him play. Big game this coming Sunday. Absolute. 4:30 game. Sky, all the spotlight, and and a good game. He could be easily be the star of that game. Absolutely unbelievable. Love the guy.
Joe, where do you stand on the debate we were having in the Telegram group of, he is running hot, isn't he? And someone had posted that he's outperforming his XG massively, which is never a bad thing because it means he's absolutely lethal at the moment. But all the data bods will tell you if someone's running hot. Here it comes, Dave. Regression to the mean on the way. We hope that doesn't happen, obviously. Where do you stand on that, Joe?
I don't think you can regress in a season. I don't think you can regress back that far, if that makes sense. Because if you score a couple of very, very low XG goals, it doesn't mean you're going to miss two, like
of equivalent.
Six absolute sitters to make up for the two stunners that you scored from nowhere. So, yeah, I'm not hugely worried about that. Yeah, not everything is going to fly into the goal from 25 yards, or every time he shoots, it's going to fly in. He's bet like that one against Brentford, the one that hits the post as well. Like,
that's Brighton. Oh.
Yeah, he's hit the post there as well.
Yeah.
And you just think that he's just, he's running hot. Yeah, he won't continue everything touching, flying into goal, but he's still our main number 9. He's still going to get chances, and he just hits the ball with such power. It's so simple, isn't it? It's just like hit the ball as hard as you can at the goal and see if a keeper can get in the way of it. And even when Emi Martinez can get down and get a strong hand to it, it's not enough to keep it out because it's sort of through him before he hits it. Yeah, so it's a really interesting one, and interesting to see how our striker situation develops over the season as well.
And I've made this comparison, Dave. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. The Brighton one, I was just thinking about Daly and Atkinson then. Anything in that, Dave?
A little bit. I mean, he just carries it forever, doesn't he? I mean, it's just incredible. And also off both feet as well. Off both feet. The Villa goal, step over right foot, hammers it across Martinez left foot. He has got the potential to, as Joe said, if he's not worth that now, you'd think now, 6 in 10, he probably is. His value's already 40 million now. God knows what it could be. If he ends up the season with 15, I think good chance we'll probably stay up. Crikey, what will he be worth then? 18 or whatever? God knows, don't know. But
I don't think Joe will even be able to come up with a number big enough.
Infinity. He is
infinity billion.
Perhaps one of the most. I mean, we're all excited about Omari, and what a great sign. But he is the one that's, I think, surprised everybody the most. I think
a goal scorer is always like that, though, Dave.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. There you go. Brilliant stuff, Joe. Thank you for doing that, mate, and thank you everybody for playing along in the comments. Joe, did you say you wanted to add a little bit on in terms of January?
Yeah, well, I guess it was just one of those where we think we're going to be focusing in January, and I guess the two obvious ones in that we were chasing one right to the last minute is another striker, and the other one is a right winger. Now Bene is out injured, so you imagine that it's those two areas in the main. Central midfield, is that somewhere where you want to have another body in there? Because we've had a lot of injury suspensions in that zone. Do we need someone else in there?
Tell you what, Ben, I love that player at Watford. That Czech, what's his name?
The Georgian.
What? Yeah, the Georgian with his socks at half mast. My God, what a player he is.
You like him?
You think he's one. I mean, you see a lot. You think every time I see
him, name, bit of a maverick, Dave. And
every time I see him.
Well, the only problem with that, Dave, is there a bit of a Jack Clarke comparison where Watford's tactic is give him the ball, and obviously we've seen Jack Clarke in Ipswich where the tactic is not just give him the ball. He's got to fit into the patterns of play, and that may take a while. Would they shop in the EFL, Joe? Do you think?
Possibly. That's where a huge amount of our shopping has taken place, even as it was confirmed by his agent last week, which we suspected to be the case and was reported at the time that we went in for Latte Laff on deadline day of a £20 million bid.
He is starting to hit some form now, Joe, as well.
Yeah, because it seemed like he sort of dropped out of the team, didn't he, for Tommy Conway, and he's now sort of back in there. But you wonder just where Middlesbrough are at that stage of the season, and if they have longer to try and sort out a replacement than just deadline day.
I think they're about to go on a winning run, and he's about to go on a scoring run. My spidey senses tell me this.
Yeah. And then I think Neil's mentioned it in the chat there, but maybe that Fotis Ioannidis, who's the Panathinaikos striker that played against England last week. He's there. Do you think it's maybe we could try and get back of him? I think he was just sort of keeping his powder dry and looking to...
Can you do that on loan, Joe?
I don't think they'd want that. I think there'd have to be a guaranteed transfer at the end of it, because otherwise they're just giving a player up for nothing. So obviously we traced Armando Broja right to the end of the window, and he's still not fit. Everton, I don't know when he's due back, but yeah, there is a there is a gap for a striker, as we all know they are like unicorns trying to find, but we have managed to unearth one at the moment. And even George Hurst previously, when you think £1.5 million for him, what signings that's proven to be. He's still cutting it in the Premier League from what we've seen so far, but there is concerns over his knee, I think, at the moment after the injury he looked to pick up against Tottenham, where he was down. I think anyone in the ground probably expected him to be going off at that point because he was down in a lot of pain. He did play until the end of the game, but you imagine they're having a look at that knee, and hopefully there's nothing too severe there because he looked like he was going there. But yeah, I think we do need a third striker in the squad, because you see if Hurst is out for a few weeks, we're back to relying on Ali Al-Hamadi, who's it's too big a jump for him at the moment. He was playing in League Two at this time last year.
Yeah, Dave, just on your Jack Fatadza point, do you not think the profile of Ogbene means that McKenna thinks he's got enough dribblers and he wants a runner, basically? That was
you might.
Do you not think he'd go for that type of player?
It's just a player that every time I've seen him, he's been absolutely
right.
Just
sorry. What were you going to say anyway, mate?
Outstanding. Sorry. Did I see as we were linked with a Chelsea youngster that what's his name again?
Carney Chukwuemeka.
That's the one.
Yeah. Is it Villa?
He was, yeah.
He was. But no, I mean, I expect this. I'd fully expect this to go again in January and go big again. I'd have thought.
What's the FFP position, Joe? Do you think?
Well, we were still bid 20 million for Latte Laff on deadline day, and we had a deal agreed with Broja for 30 million guaranteed future fees. So we must still have that sort of money available to spend, 30, 40 million to spend if we want
to. Joe's business plan's got 1 billion coming in for Liam Delap in
June, 6 or 7, 8 seasons ago, Ben, we're doing the pod at this time on a Sunday night, and we think, oh yeah, we could do with a good cup run, get a few sort of 100,000 quid in the bin for a good cup run or something like that. I mean, honestly,
it's all right, mate. Brett Pittman on a free. That'll do it. So you get some goals, won't you, Brett?
What a
Brett the Pitman heart. There we go. Guys, brilliant stuff. Can I just quickly, I know we're going to go chapter and verse on this with Blue Monday Rewind. We've got the predictions with Mikey as well. We've got Rich and Seb coming up. But Joe, it is Man United week and you've got to bloody love it. And it starts tomorrow.
It is, massive. Like this time next week, we'll be off the back of it, hopefully still smiling as much as we are now on the back of that game, because it is going to be, as we mentioned before last week, it's going to be an absolute circus in town, because the whole world is going to be watching this fixture because of what it is. It's Ruben Amorim's first game, the biggest club in the world, have a new manager. What's he going to do? He's got his players coming back from international break, and is he going to try and get his style in straight away, or is he going to try and work with what he's got? We know Ruud van Nistelrooy's left, who was
and applied for the Coventry job, right?
Yeah, he's probably hot at the moment after a nice little finish at Man United. But there's no one sort of handing over to Amorim. It's just he's now in charge, so it could be that this is a fantastic time to play them, and I'm sure Kieran McKenna's sort of so up for this game. You couldn't be more up for it.
What do you think their strategy is going to be, Dave? And at what point is Ipswich Town going to start trending on Twitter and stay there right the way through to Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to start, isn't it? Absolutely. Me and Craig were doing we recorded the Rewind show, and it just brings it all home, just how big a game it really is. Although we were both bemoaning the fact it's a shame that Ruud wasn't going to be around, trotting down the touchline on Sunday afternoon.
What's your step, Ruud?
I think the feelings still run deep from 20 odd seasons ago, don't they? But
I mean, we were rubbish. We still would have got relegated.
And
anyway,
shock alert. We did cover that game. Spoiler alert. We did cover that game this morning. But it's just going to be massive. You know, the old bloody new microwave Sky box is going to be in full flow. Probably Roy Keane, Carragher, who else? Neville, bloody Micah Richards. They're all going to be there, aren't they? Absolutely massive game. And the media coverage throughout this week's just going to be huge. Absolutely.
To Adie's question in the chat, yes, Blue Monday will be live at 8 p.m. next Sunday night. And my God, potentially it could be the greatest Blue Monday in the history of the podcast. You never know. Stranger things have happened this last couple of seasons. Joe, last word from you, fella.
Yeah, just keep going with us, and we'll see you all next week.
Dave, last word from you, boss.
Yeah, bring it on. Yeah, Spurs results got everyone up. Everyone up. We got that first win under our belts. Bring it on.
Here we go, guys. Let Manchester United week begin. We will see you with plenty of content. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, and we'll be back very, very soon.